Welcome back, it's Danny here from Our Humble Home DIY. In today's video I am creating a beautiful stencil repetitive design from scratch. Something you may want for a special project, a special theme, or something you may want to sell even. I'm designing it through Canva, and if you are designing something to sell on Canva, it needs to be changed. You have to add elements to it, make it a completely different design. In other words, you just can't download something and sell it. It won't even let you do that anymore. You can't download one single element as a file anymore. It won't let you do that. But also, wherever you are selling it, if they ask you, do you have the copyright for it? You don't. But you do have the right to sell it. Canva gives you the right to sell something that you have changed. So what I'm doing here is making my own stencil design. I'm thinking not less is more, but simple is better. It's unusual with with stencils. They can be a bit difficult. I've created things and cut them out and they really haven't worked. Everything's fallen to bits. Additionally, when you are creating a stencil design, just make sure the edges aren't out of the frame, otherwise you'll end up with something like that at the bottom. It won't work. It won't look flowy and it won't look repetitive. So like I said, I'm just going through and finding some basic elements to add and to create actual design. I'm thinking tropical floral type of thing with the leaves and the flowers, and as you can see, I'm placing all of the elements within that square so that nothing is hanging out of the square. What I'm doing now is actually saving it to upload. So to do that, you can go to apps, find design to image, and convert to image. Now this is instead of downloading it to your computer and bringing it back in. Increase the size of your design so it's nice and crisp and a good quality, and make the background transparent as well. Now this will save it to your uploads now, and what I do is refresh the page and then it will pop into your uploads. So now we're going to start making the design repetitive. So we're going into elements and grids. And we're going to choose horizontal grid and place that into our square. We're going to go up to spacing and put that to 0 because we don't want any gap between the two sides. Go back to uploads and the design you uploaded and saved will be in uploads. Okay, so we're bringing the first design back in and placing it in each box. It will be a transparent background. Double click on each end and push it, the top one right to the top and the bottom one right to the bottom, making sure it is all the way down and the top one is all the way up. And again, now we are going to export that to our uploads the same way we did with the first design. You've got to select which page you want to save. You can see there pages 1 to 2. So select page 2 this time and export. And that again will go into your uploads. So this time we're going to put the vertical boxes in. Again, adjust the spacing to 0. And we are going to import now the last edit that we did. So the edit that we did like this, but that was horizontal. And again, push both sides out as far as they can go. So that is basically now our repetitive design. And again, what we're going to do is save that back to our uploads. You can download this if you like, but I'm still going to work on it. So I'm just putting it into the uploads. This way you don't have to keep going out of Canva and trying to get your images. Just looking here to see now if that's actually repetitive and the pieces will fit and flow. So I've done this so the design will repeat both lengthways and vertically. So you can put it any way and there will be a repetitive pattern. This isn't going to be the end of this stencil edit though. If you have a look at this flower here and you have a look at the little white bits in it. I'm going to remove those because when I cut this out, when it comes to cutting this out, it's not going to show up those intricate little bits. They will be cut out with the whole black piece. So what I want to do is make actually a design to place inside this flower that will cut out and will stay in place. So what I'm going to do is first remove the white. So I'm just at the top, you can see the different colors. There was white. I just changed the white to black, and that changed those little white bits to black. Now what I'm going to do is add some of my own, but I'm going to add them so that when the stencil is cut out, it will be cut out and it will stay in place. So I grabbed that little one there. I think I just typed in curve design or something like that. I changed, it was black, but I changed it to white. And now what I'm doing is just placing it in, making sure that the white parts are all joined up. Before the white, see there, like the white parts sort of all joined to white, whereas before it wasn't. It was sort of floating inside the black, and that's why it would not have cut out properly. So I'm doing that with each of the flowers. I noticed though there was a little bit of black dots in there. So what I'm going to do, I thought, was get a white round circle and place it right in the middle too, and this will again hold everything together. Now what I'm doing is making that as a transparent background and converting it as a design to image again, just checking that those little dots have become transparent. They haven't, so I'll just remove the background again. It's easy to see if you just put a different color in. So now that's totally transparent, and now I'm just going to check and see if that will all join up still. So this is our repetitive design, and making it into a stencil that will actually cut. And that's important with stencils because sometimes you think all is good and you go to cut it out and it doesn't cut out the way you think, but that's all repetitive. There are bits here I want to fill in. Where those little dots are there, I'm going to fill these in because it looks a little bit patchy, like the same design just in different spots. I want it to be flowy and to look like one complete design, sort of not where there's a beginning and an end of each sort of pattern. So what I'm going to do is just go in, and where I had the red dots, I'm going to place some little graphics. So things that will go, and they don't have to be exactly the same. So I'm going to put mainly some little leaves in different spots just to fill in those bits that are a little bit blank. And I will show you in a minute what I mean, and I'll show you the difference that this actually makes. Yeah, so just looking and seeing what else I can find, what other little bits and pieces. They don't have to be the same, but you can see I'm choosing very basic sort of graphics, things that I know will cut out really easily and they're not going to cause a problem. So you can see already that that's looking a lot more, I don't know, what's the word, flowy. It sort of looks a lot more full. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but you'll see in a minute what I mean when we compare this one to the one I just did previously. Again, just exporting it to uploads, refreshing the page, and bringing it back in. Having to do this because it's all in one layer. If I do that to the one above it, the layers haven't been joined, so we've got to export it to uploads each time. So now I'm going to show you the difference between adding those little elements right at the end and not adding those little elements right at the end. You will see that there is a lot more flow to the design and to the pattern once I've added those other little bits. So the gaps sort of have disappeared, and when you add them together and you make them repeat, it looks like one more cohesive flowing design. So that is that there, where I've added the little elements, and I will compare it in a minute to where I haven't. You'll sort of be able to see the difference. So now comparing this to the first one I did before I added the elements, and you will see it is more clumpy and more patchy. You can sort of see where the design starts and where the design ends. It sort of looks like just a whole heap of designs sort of put next to each other, really. So now our design is done. I'm happy with that. I'm going to download it as a transparent file onto my computer, not as an upload. So I just want to keep it there. And now it's time to cut it out and see how we go. Last night I cut out my stencil design that I have finally come up with, and it cut out really well. This is 4mm Mylar, and I did a whole video on it. And with any stencil design or any Mylar that you're putting on and cutting out a stencil with, you need to have an ultra strong mat, and this is strong grip. I mean, all mats will lose their stickiness too, and this will at some point. When you see things start popping up after they've cut, then you may need to get another mat. I find with vinyl heat and the other, you can just stick it down at the side and push it down. It seems to be okay, but with this, you can't really, and if things start popping up, then it's going to interfere with the cutting out as well. So, but this mat's pretty new, and also I take care of it as well. So now I'm going to peel it back, and it's also always a little bit difficult on a strong grip mat, and especially when you have a lot of intricate cuts. And not only that, this is quite a thin Mylar stencil sheet too, so we'll see how we go. But there is a bit of a trick to doing this that one lady told me once. She commented, and thank you for that, because I'll be trying it. The trick is to actually bend I'm cooking garlic bread in this air fryer. Is to bend the carrier sheet or the mat back, and then peel it off that way. Still be very careful though, especially with this design. It's pretty intricate, and if pieces aren't cut properly or correctly, then they might not come off properly as well, and that makes it difficult. But I'll just take now my hand's in the way. You probably can't see, but I can't help that. The last little bit, I guess, I'll have to try to just peel off. Okay. I might just take it over to the kitchen bench to show you, but that is cut out so well. And I'll just show you what I mean about the flowers. You can probably see there. You see how the little pieces are intact, the little white pieces that I added, and the circle is intact. If I hadn't changed that and I'd kept with the original design, that would have disappeared completely, and you would just have seen the outline of the flower. Everything seems to be cut really well. The other little bits that are added to there, and the leaves. Sometimes you will see bits that are still in there. They're just hanging by a thread really, and they just need to be snapped out, and they come off really easily, and there's no problem there. The part I don't like of this is trying to get all these pieces off. It takes a while, but I just get my scraping tool out and do that. So here we have my stencil, and you can see that all of the little bits and details inside have been cut out, the flower in particular. I should have cut it out without doing anything to it, just to show you what I mean. But for example, if that leaf was completely closed in here and a whole leaf, then that bit wouldn't cut out. So that's what I mean there. But it's my repetitive stencil design, repetitive both ways, horizontally and vertically. It should be more flowy now and not so patchy or clumpy. Actually, I thought of the word last night. I can't remember what it was. And I'll have to try it out on some furniture. If anyone is interested in purchasing the file for this to download, I'll make it available. I just thought a couple of dollars. But now I've shown you, you could probably make your own if you've got the time and the energy and the desire. That's today's video all done. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great week and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Big time. I still managed to be able to, squeeze them on, but yeah, it wasn't very good. So now cutting out, because there are so many pieces and so many also pieces in the actual drop sheets, I do want to figure out how I'm going to cut them out. I just sort of wrote down and sort of drew a diagram.